What's going on, everybody? It is Monday, April 22nd. This is the Stop Me Project, and I am flying solo today. I know it's been a while since we've put up a podcast, but I just wanted to report and check in with everyone. I know back in end of December, beginning of January, right around New Year's, I spoke in one of the podcasts I did solo about possibly venturing into the Amazon to partake in a ayahuasca retreat. And I am back from the Amazon, and I just wanted to give a brief report of my experience, share that with everyone, and give you a little insight as to what it is and what it's all about and how it went. So yeah, I've had some time to digest, about a week being back here in California. I was in Peru from April 2nd until April 15th. I was down in the Amazon. I started off in Iquitos, and then from Iquitos ventured into the jungle by boat, 2-hour boat ride to get to the Temple of the Way of Light, which is the place where I went to partake in the ayahuasca ceremonies. Forgive me for lacking on some of the details on the location, specifically where I was and all that stuff. You can find all that information at the Temple of the Way of Light.com if you're interested in checking that out, but I'm not going to go back and look up any of that information because it's really not that important, other than that we were in the jungle and we were a 2-hour boat ride away from any sort of real civilization. And even in Iquitos, it's a pretty unique place, one like I had never been any time in my life. So yeah, we went. So I started off on April 1st. I left San Diego, California, flew to Dallas, and then from Dallas I flew to Lima, had a layover in Lima, and then on the 2nd in the morning I flew from Lima to Iquitos, and I got my first taste of what the city of Iquitos is like. I can tell you that it is the largest city in the world not accessible by roads, and that means that to get to Iquitos you either have to take a boat or you have to fly in. There are no roads that lead to Iquitos. So yeah, it's a pretty unique little city. Not many cars, a lot of motorcycles, motorbikes, scooters, and it seems like the predominant means of transportation of these moto taxis, which is kind of like a motorcycle or a dirt bike, moped, with a 2-person rickshaw fixed to the back of it, and that seems to be how the majority of the population gets around transportation-wise there. Yes, it's an interesting place. It doesn't seem to me like I was only there for a brief period on either end of the trip, but seems like there's majority of the people either work by driving a taxi or by operating a food stand on the side of the road. There are some small businesses, but it seemed like there was a lot of people out and about, just cruising, doing their thing. So when I got there, I'd been up for about 24 hours, and being as I had to adhere to the ayahuasca diet, I ventured up the road a little bit to the Dawn of the Amazon Cafe to partake in some food. They offered a special there was pretty eclectic group of people, I guess you would say. Not very diverse, all white Westerners. We had people from the United States as well as myself. There were people from Canada, in different regions of Canada. We had some European people, people from Germany, people from Holland, people from the UK. There was a gentleman from South Africa there, and there was a couple also from Australia. So we made our way from the hotel by bus to the boat, and then from the boat it was about 2 hours to get to the temple. And then once we got to the temple, we got to meet the maestros and the maestras, and that is the name given to the Shipibo shaman that was going to be conducting the ceremonies. And then from there we met a couple other people that were going to help facilitate the experience, people that were helping with the food at the dining hall, people that were helping with the translation for the administration of some of the plant medicines, and then also two of the facilitators that were going to be helping with the ceremonies. So we got that information out of the way, and then we got our Tombo assignments. The Tombo is just a hut. We each were assigned our own individual little huts, and or that would be our living quarters for the week. You know, nothing crazy, just a one-bedroom hut with a desk and with a little area for the bathroom, I guess you would call it. Bathroom consisted of a bucket in a box, and on top of that box was a toilet seat and a toilet lid. You would do your business into the bucket, and then once you were done, you would throw some sawdust over top of it, and once that got to a reasonably full level, then you would just let them know, and they would have someone come in and empty that out for you. So that was pretty much it. First day was pretty mellow. You know, we got to meet some people, other people that we're going to be working with, and you know, again, spending more time getting to know the other people. We had lunch and we had dinner, so we had some downtime to talk, and then really it was just kind of a waiting game until that first ceremony the following night. In the course of the 12 days that we were there, we were partaking in 7 ayahuasca ceremonies, and the first one would take place on the second day. We would go 2 ceremonies in a row, then we would take a day off to rest, then we would do 3 ceremonies in a row, which was called the Trinity, and then we would take a day off from there, and then we did 2 days in a row, and then we had 1 day of rest before we headed back to Iquitos. On the days that we partook in the ceremonies, we were only eating breakfast and lunch, and then we were fasting from about 3 o'clock until the ceremony, which started at 8 p.m. For those of you that aren't really familiar with what ayahuasca is, I suggest you go Google it, check it out, look into it. For those of you that have heard of it or know what it's about, here it goes. So, going into the experience, I had I guess an expectation of what I thought was going to happen. You know, I had done a fair amount of investigating or research and just listening to other people's accounts with the plant. You know, one of them being on the Joe Rogan Experience with Aubrey Marcus, some of his experiences that he had, and he had some pretty profound visionary experiences, so I had that. You know, there's also, if you've heard Robin Quivers give her account with ayahuasca, there's tons of stuff on YouTube. So, you know, I had this idea that I was gonna, you know, definitely gonna face some demons and battle some things and see some scary stuff, but then I also knew that once I kind of broke through that I was gonna have or thought I was going to have these, experiences of maybe former lives or future lives, or you hear of people riding dragons and being visited by flotillas and spaceships and stuff like that. So sort of had that expectation going in to the first ceremony. And first ceremony, we, for the most of us who were first timers, received a small dose of ayahuasca. Think of a shot glass. That was our first dose. And once everyone received their dose, we returned to our mats in the Maloka and shut off all the lights, and we waited. So that first ceremony, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Again, I had sort of an expectation of what I had heard from other people's experiences, knowing that we had 6 shaman in our group. I wasn't really sure what to expect. So we're sitting there in the dark, and within 20 to 30 minutes, I guess the first purge took place. And although I knew that there was going to be people that would be purging, I really wasn't ready for the magnitude of the sound in which that purge was going to create. So immediately I was kind of uneasy by the purging that was going on around me. And then shortly after the purging started, the maestros and the maestras started with their icaros. And at first it was just one maestro singing his icaros, and I was kind of getting into it. Whenever the maestros would do their icaros, it kind of made me feel like I was, I guess maybe a Native American, or some sort of, Native American warrior on the Great Plains, and I was partaking in this ceremony. It was very deep, and just gave me that feeling of, like that warrior spirit of getting, sitting in a teepee on the Great Plains, smoking a peace pipe. Just my kind of vision of it. But shortly after the maestro started, the others would join in, and the maestros joined in, and right off the bat, right away, the maestro's pitch was so intense and so high that it kind of made me uneasy. I don't know if I would say it made me scared, but it was so high and intense, it almost gave off like this kind of eerie, like, to me, witch-like sound, and it made me very uneasy. And it was all of this noise going on with these 6 different icaros going on, and then you had multiple people purging. With the effect of the ayahuasca settling into my system, it was very unsettling for me. And I instantly was started to have some, I guess you would call them, maybe some negative thoughts about the experience. Again, I thought that the maestros and the maestras would sing individually. I didn't think it would be, like a symphony of these people going all at once. And I was focusing on that. Maybe instead I should have been focusing on my intention, or just kind of having a clear head. But for whatever reason, I was like, man, I wish these maestros would kind of chill out so I could listen to the maestros. I really like what they're doing. I like that vibe. But this high-pitched kind of singing, I wasn't feeling it. And then it stopped. Maybe went on for, maybe 10 minutes, not even, and then it stopped, and it was kind of quiet again. And, really by that point, any effects that I was getting, any visuals that I were getting kind of had started to fade a little bit. And, although they said we could get a second cup. I had told myself beforehand that I was only going to have one cup starting out, and then possibly later on in the week would venture, but I didn't want to be that guy that thought, oh, this isn't even working, and then the minute you take that second dose, the first one kicks in and you're in for a long haul. So I decided I was just going to ride it out and see what happened, even though I was kind of, the effects I felt like had come and gone already. And then as I was sitting there, I wasn't sure to keep my eyes closed or my eyes open. I had my eyes open and I saw a red light come on, and as that red light came on, I saw one of the maestras kind of crawling on her hands and knees, and she was coming in my general direction. I really wasn't sure what was going to take place, because they didn't really prep us, and if they did, I wasn't paying attention to how the ceremony was going to go down. So this maestro and this red light are coming closer and closer to me, and all I could think was, oh shit, do they know, can they sense that I am having this kind of negative vibe towards their singing, and they're coming right to me directly first thing to work on me. So that kind of added to my whole experience. And what happened there is that the maestros and the maestras were divided up around the room, and then what they did was they went from mat to mat to mat to each person, so that each person in the ceremony was sung an individual Icaros. Turns out that it was just luck of the draw that I was the starting point each time, but before I knew that, I just assumed that, or thought that they were coming to me because they could sense my kind of vibe, that I wasn't really feeling their singing, and they thought that maybe I needed, that work more than the other people in the room to start off. So that's kind of how the first night went. Didn't really have too much in terms of crazy visions. Was so focused on the outside aspects of what was going on in the room that I don't know, didn't really have an experience or a ceremony to write home about. Nothing really profound happened, no crazy visions, and kind of left there like, oh man, that was a bummer. So that was the first night. And then the second night, we all got bigger doses, we got bigger cups, and same process. Everyone drinks. Once everyone drinks, we go back to our mats. We wait until the ceremony begins. Ceremony begins, lights are out, everyone's sitting in silence, and then, within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the purging begins. And tonight, or the second night, the purging was a little bit more intense, and as the purging started, the bigger dose of ayahuasca started to grab a hold of me, and the visions, the hallucinations started to come, and I guess you could say panic set in. I have never, ever experienced anything like I had experienced on that second session. Nothing I have ever done could have prepared me for that experience. Within 5 minutes of feeling the effects of the ayahuasca, I had to lay down, and I laid down flat on my back with my head to the center of the circle, to the shamans, as they asked us to do. And from there, all hell broke loose. It's kind of hard to recall much of what happened, because it was so intense and it was so incomprehensible that it's tough to recall a lot of that experience, other than the fact that I was hallucinating like I have never hallucinated before in my life. Closed eyes, opened eyes, no matter what, the visions were the same. It was lots of different patterns, lots of bright colors, layers upon layers upon layers, possibly some beings mixed in there, and just so intense that I just couldn't comprehend it. It wasn't anything scary, death-like, or snakes, or bugs or anything like that. It was just so overwhelmingly intense and so fast and so much that it just sent me into a panic. And from laying on my back, I went into the fetal position, and would go in and out of sheer panic and maddening. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. Is this ever going to stop? Is this going to be like this forever? To catching myself and controlling it, and hey, you can breathe through it. You can get through this. You can do anything. Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. And I would control my mind, turn my brain off a little bit, stop thinking about the intensity of everything. And as I would begin to breathe and control the situation, the kind of vibration and the speed at which the visions were coming would kind of slow down. And then I would think to myself, okay, the worst is past, everything's fine, we're good. And then the minute I would calm down again, boom, it would kick back in and it would go 100 miles an hour, and I would go right back into panic mode. And that went on probably for about 45 minutes to an hour, and it was so much that I don't even really remember the maestros singing their Icaros to me. It really wasn't until the first maestro, Luciano, who was in his 70s and had been a shaman for almost 40 years, he started singing to me, and by the time he had gotten done with his Icaros, I at least felt like I had kind of regained composure and gotten back to normal and was coming off of that peak and was able to sit up. And for the rest of the ceremony, I just sat up and kind of puffed on a mapacho, much like a cigar, almost in like celebration that I had made it through alive. And a lot of that experience kind of was, you hear of people having a ayahuasca session or multiple ayahuasca sessions, and how it changes their outlook on life, and it takes people out of their depression. And part of my analysis from that was that from my experience, it was so scary, and the thought of, is this ever going to go back to normal, that when it does go back to normal, you have an appreciation of reality, and realize that maybe life isn't that bad, or some of the things that you let get you down aren't really worth the time or energy to waste in a negative way. That was kind of part of my thinking as I was going through that terrifying experience, that terrifying trip, was that this is so intense and so scary and so unlike anything I've ever experienced. I just want to get back to reality as quickly as possible and buckle into that and be so appreciative of that that was kind of my evaluation from that. And that was pretty much it for the second ceremony. After that, we took a day off, and then we had 3 ceremonies in a row, the Trinity. And although when I went through the Trinity, I didn't have any profound visual experiences like some of the ones you hear of on people's accounts on podcasts or on YouTube. Other than that second session, most of my hallucinations or visions were very similar. I posted some pictures up on Facebook of some of the visions, or they're somewhat like a feminine being, with some wavy kind of vegetation like I guess visions, maybe some snakes in there, but again, nothing scary, and nothing like a lot of the things that I had heard. One of the things that I was able to work on, I had some intentions, things that I wanted to work on, some things that I analyzed about some situations, both with my career and with friends and family, previous or past relationships that have kind of gone by the wayside, and possibly thinking of ways to make amends for some of those things. And then also just acceptance of people for who they are, and how they do things, and however they have done things in the past. I can't hold on to those things, and I've got to look at the brighter side of things, and be thankful for what I have received in this life, and not always look at the negative aspects of it, or hold resentment for things. Those were some profound things that I worked on. I dealt with some issues that I've harbored for a long time with against myself for a relationship with my cousin. We used to be very, very tight and very, very good friends, and have kind of fallen apart, fallen away from one another over the last 5 years or so, and was able to address some of those issues, and work on some of those things, and hopefully move forward now, and reach out and try to mend that relationship, and see where that goes from there. I was able to also work on some things that I want to do moving forward with my life, in terms of my career, whether or not I want to continue being involved in the fitness industry, and if not being in the fitness industry, where I want to go from here moving forward, kind of closing that door, that chapter on my life, and just focusing on myself, and not worrying about making a career out of trying to guide other people in their quest for well-being. It's something that it brings me a lot of joy, but also is a very big source of frustration in my life. And I think at this time it's probably best that I step away from it for a while. Maybe not completely, but in terms of a full-time gig, it's probably not best for me to live in that world. I want to do my own thing, and I find sometimes that gets me down to the point where it becomes not fun for me, and I don't want to be living and not enjoying things anymore. So it's kind of where I was at after those first after the Trinity. Really, I decided that I think it's time to close the door on making a living off of being a coach, or being a trainer, and just kind of focus on myself and my own goals in that realm, and look for some new career paths moving forward from here. So that was kind of it through some of the sessions here. I'm running out of time. We only do these for a half hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut it down here, and then I will continue with the second edition of the ayahuasca experience. So stay tuned. Episode 2 of the ayahuasca experiences will be coming up, and I'll talk a little bit more about the end of the Trinity and the end of my experience. So stay tuned, stick around, stopmeproject.com.